The revised National Planning Framework is concerned with all aspects of life, including a 26-page section on climate transition and our environment. Therefore, I'm bringing forward this amendment primarily because of the recent policy reversal by this current government regarding the building of LNG infrastructure. There are three core considerations relating to energy within this national framework, namely energy procurement, energy generation and energy storage. The overall ambition being to adhere to our legally binding target to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 51% over the decade 2021 to 2030 and to achieve net zero emissions no later than 2050. So this target should inform everything we do in terms of energy procurement, generation and storage. The National Energy Policy referred to on page 132 of the framework insists that all energy policy and related planning should be built upon the pillars of sustainability, security of supply and competitiveness. We in the Labour Party support these ambitions and we want to work with government in achieving a just transition to achieve our targets and to reach our targets. But the ambitious target to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 51% by 2030 is going to be very difficult as it is to achieve. The SEAI report 2023 tells us that 85.8% of our energy still comes from fossil fuels, so we have 5 years to get down to 51%. This target, however, will be rendered completely impossible if we allow the development of LNG infrastructure, which also flies completely in the face and contradicts all three pillars of the National Energy Policy. The first pillar of the National Energy Policy is sustainability. LNG is high in methane, which is 80 times more warming than CO2. If it was a matter of filling the terminal once in case of emergencies, it might be justified in some way to build a reserve, but it's not. LNG needs to be vented to maintain safety of this volatile explosive gas. So we either vent the gas into the atmosphere or into the grid, or we use it, and obviously we're going to use it. Maintaining a 7-day strategic reserve requires 6 replenishments per year, each of 170,000 cubic metres of gas, equating to additional 500,000 tonnes of additional carbon per year. It will take 5 years to build a terminal, and if we were to reduce our 2018 emissions by 51% by 2030, how does building this terminal make sense? Should we unveil a new piece of fossil infrastructure the year we were hitting the 51% mark? So this brings me on to the second pillar, security of supply. Annex 2, Security Ireland's gas supply, addresses the long-term approach to the security of our gas supply. This document states that the inter-island gas network has been extremely reliable since its introduction 30 years ago. At the moment, we currently, and everyone knows this probably, we currently have 2 gas pipelines supplying natural, non-fracked gas from Scotland. Interconnector 1 lands north of Dublin and Interconnector 2 at Gormanstown. A third available pipeline from Scotland to Carrigan-Fergus is also connected to the Irish gas grid through the north-south network. The same document assesses the risk of a failure to each pipeline, and the results show that the failure risk for Interconnector 1 is once in 49 years, and for Interconnector 2, once in 52 years. So for both of these to occur at the same time is extremely unlikely. The third pillar then is competitiveness. LNG consistently is more expensive than piped natural gas. In fact, it's 5 times more expensive than natural gas. While gas is used to provide heating and hot water in some homes, its chief use in Ireland is being burned in power stations in order to generate electricity. But then in contrast, however, once the initial capital investment is expended, the cost of generating electricity from renewable energy sources is minimal. Like I said, I suppose our commitments to deliver our climate targets to reduce emissions by 51% by 2030 are legally binding. They are accompanied by penalties for failure to meet these targets. And the Fiscal Advisory Council and the Climate Change Advisory Council have described the government's seemingly willingness to pay these penalties as staggering. We could pay anything from 8 billion to 26 billion per year on these penalties. But if the government allocates just 10% of the planned overall national spending budget over the next 5 years to climate action measures, this could be enough to halve our projected penalty costs. True competitiveness will be achieved by working towards self-sufficiency and becoming a net exporter, not an importer, of energy. Spending money in the building of new fossil fuel infrastructure, such as an LNG terminal, is not investments. It's a monumental frittering away of our climate and financial future. But I have other concerns too that I need to address in this framework document. A number of county councillors from rural constituencies have contacted me expressing their concern that this planning framework could drive another nail into the coffin of rural Ireland. For example, there is no acknowledgement of the ongoing humanitarian disaster in Donegal, the defective concrete block scandal, where the planning on how we're going to restore thousands of homes in Donegal to livable condition. This needs to be included. In parts of County Leitrim, where I've already spoke about the threat of fracked gas, there's widespread belief that in the rural heartland of the county is being transformed into a sacrificial zone. The Holzplain plantation of unsuitable, non-native, sitka spruce now covers over 20% of all the land in the county. There's a very real risk posed by future exploration of precious minerals such as gold, and the fear that allowing the importation of frack gas will be a Trojan horse for the exploitation of significant gas reserves under the county as a whole. So Leitrim has been just been sacrificed in this whole area. So these concerns need to be listened to. In the Gaeltacht, there was a report, and the Gaeltacht there's a chronic shortage of housing, exacerbated by the proliferation of holiday homes and the short-term lets. Housing in the Gaeltacht is not addressed in the framework. And Sligo's role in my own county where I live as a regional centre is recognised in the framework as performing a similar function as a city in our region, yet we do not receive the support we need to grow and develop in a sustainable manner. The deficiencies within our rail network illustrate this perfectly. The planning framework should support our communities promoting genuinely climate-positive infrastructure projects, such as the reopening of the Western Rail Corridor, allowing populations throughout the smaller town of villages throughout Sligo, Mayo and Donegal to commute into the larger centres to live or to work, but to live in their own villages, supported by essential services such as schools, GA clubs, primary healthcare centres and community centres. So I think we need to see, I'm urging people to support my amendment. This framework is going to last till 2040, and if we really want to see a commitment to really to reach our climate action targets and not pretend that investing in fossil fuel infrastructure is going to meet that, and actually to really invest in balanced region development by opening up opening up the Western Rail Corridor and improved rails between Sligo and Dublin. Thank you.